Hello and welcome. You're watching Ask PQ on Bloomberg Quint. I am Agarwala. If you got questions on equity, this show is perfect for you. Send your questions to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. You can call us on 022-454-04141 or mail us at askpq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure you add the Ask PQ hashtag. Before we take in a look at personal and some of these individual queries, let's also take a look at the markets. Well, currently reeling under pressure, and we're seeing some losses for the Nifty and the Sensex, but they're not at day's lows. They're in fact significantly off day's lows, considering the Nifty is now down just 40 points and the Sensex down and holding on to the mark of 3,600. Of course, the Nifty is also climbed back above the mark of, around 10,800. So that is going to be important to watch out for. Of course, the underlying development here is the Indian Air Force strikes in some of the terrorist camps in, POK and, of course, Pakistan as well. But we'll be moving on and taking a look at how the broader markets have done. They are really under pressure too, mostly falling in tandem with the benchmark indices. And when it comes to some of your stocks, let's pull up the gainers on the Nifty. Tata Motors is advancing in trade, up 2.8%, followed by Ultratech Cement, and TCS is not too far behind, up 1.6%. In terms of other gainers too, in today's day of trade, we have something like an Indian Oil Corp advancing by 1.5%. We have Bajaj Finserv and Z Entertainment also up and about. In terms of losers, not too much to speak for, but Indiabulls Housing Finance down by around 2.2%, followed by NTPC and ICICI Bank reeling under just a tad bit of pressure. So on the whole, it's turned out to be not as bad a day as we had begun. At this point in time, of course, we're going to have to wait and watch whether or not this does eventually lead into any more developments with respect to geopolitical risk and thereby any impact on markets. On that note, I'm going to get in our experts for the day. We have Kalra of Target Investing and Aditya Agarwala of Yes Securities, who are here to answer all your queries. Thank you, both of you, and thanks for joining us. Let me begin by taking the first question from Ujwal Kumar. He says, He wants to know the support levels for Canfin Homes and LIC Housing Finance in the short term. Okay, Aditya, let's go one by one. I'm going to pull up Canfin Homes first and take a look at where that one is trading and what it's doing currently. It's at 261. It's down 2.6% today. Aditya, your view on Canfin Homes for the short term?
So 251 should be a good support for the stock, I believe. So the stock did see a good sharp surge on one of these days. Volumes were good. Post that, it has not been able to follow it through. It has given up. It made a high of 277 from there. Stock is down to 261 right now. I believe there can be some more downside pressure to it. Around 257 to 251 is a good support zone for the stock. Once that is held on to, probably it can claw back to levels of 277 again on the upside. There's nothing much happening in the stock. It's more of a sideways consolidation at lower levels that the stock is witnessing. So if we manage to hold on to these levels of 257 to about 251, I believe the stock will make a dash towards 277 again. And if it manages to cross 277, the next hurdle is around 290.
All right, and let's pull up LIC Housing Finance then and take a look at where that one is trading in, because that was the other part of the question. Currently at 469, not doing too much today, but how is this looking in the short term?
So it's already taken support at its crucial moving averages. The confluence of its crucial moving averages around 455 near the low end. From there, stock has bounced back sharply, and now it's trading almost in the green, 0.5% in the green. So I believe stock is good to go long. One can place a stop around 455 or in between 450. That's a good strong support zone for the stock. If you take a long at current levels, I would put a target around 500 for the stock, keeping a stop around 450.
Okay, well, there you have it. That's your view on LIC Housing Finance and Canfin Homes. And these are technical views. We move on to the next question from Sivakumar. He wants to know if it is a good time to invest in Havells India and L&T Technology Services, which is, of course, for the benefit of viewers, the engineering services arm, not the information technology arm. He wants a long-term view. His question also is, shall I wait for more correction in these stocks? Samir, what is your view on Havells India and L&T Technologies?
So Havells, he can stay away for now because if you see the core earnings, they are not doing well.
Yeah.
The Lloyd's consumer acquisition which they did are playing the part. I think that will lead to a cash flow burn for them, which is happening right now.
Yeah.
So stay away from it. LNT Tech, which is the engineering part, he can have a SIP in that or smaller tranches because the promoter is good and they service to a certain extent to them. And their order book on the engineering side is increasing. So I think over there will be a rub-off on that also. So I think L&T Tech is a better pick out of the two if he's picking one.
Okay, well, Shivakumar, I hope that answers your question. It's an avoid on Havells for now, but you can do an SIP in L&T Technologies. But moving on to the next question, we have one from, Krish. He wants a fresh entry level for Infosys for 1 year. Let's see what Infosys is doing. Of course, Infosys has been showing a lot of movement off late. Some days on the gaining side, some days on the losing side. But at 745, 746, Aditya, an entry price.
So I would advise to start nibbling into Infosys from current levels and probably look to buy around 700 to about 690 is a good support zone for the stock. I don't believe the stock will break those levels immediately. If he's looking for a 1 year time frame, probably he can start to look at buying in from around 740, which is currently trading right now, and look to average down to about 700 odd zone and put a stop around 670 to about 660 and look for an upside target of 800.
All right. Well, an upside target of 800, that's what Aditya is looking at for Infi. But Sharad Gowda wants to know about IDFC First, Ujjivan Financial and AU Small Finance Bank. He wants to know which of these is a better bet. This is a question from Sharad Gowda. So IDFC First, Ujjivan Financial and AU Small Finance. Samir, where do you stand? What would your priority be in these three?
So first of all, I don't know what he means by bet. Now bet can be a short term, right?
So it's a long term bet. So I'm assuming it's an investment. Let's assume that. Let's go with
if it's an investment from his perspective, I think IDFC First Bank is a perfect choice right now. Because that's into a cleaning up process by the new management, and I think that's a perfect place for a multi-bagger to be created. And I have a lot of hopes, at least from the new management, to create a big bank, and it somewhere might replicate a Axis Bank or a SGFC Bank in the next 5 to 6 years.
Okay. Well, so there you have it. The best long-term bet is among these is IDFC First, Sharath. I hope that helps you with your choice out there. Now moving on to an intraday view on BPCL. We have Siddharth Vitlani, who says he holds BPCL at 300 rupees per share. Need an intraday view here. What can be done, Aditya?
So most of the OMCs are bouncing back from the low point of the day. In fact, IOC is trading with gains of 1.5%. BPCL slightly underperforming the pack. It is facing resistance from at levels of 334 to about 334.5. So I would be comfortable above 334.5. I would go long above 334.5 for targets of 338. At the moment, I would avoid taking any position into BPCL. Clearly, if it starts to trade above 334.5, then a long trade can be taken, putting a stop at 330 for targets of 338 and 341.
Okay, so what I realized is that his entry price is around 300, and I'm assuming that he wants to make a decision whether or not to square off today or no.
So probably he can place a trailing stop loss at around 328, 329 because he'll still be in the money. And if the stock manages to cross 334.5, then he can up his trailing stop loss to 330 and then gradually continue to up his trailing stop losses.
All right, fair enough. That's your view on BPCL. Coming down to a question on CDSL, keeping the time frame of 3 to 5 years. Well, another question from Goda RV, and he wants to know, can I buy CDSL with a 3 to 5 year view, expecting a 20 to 25% growth?
So I think CDSL is at a nice price and a nice place. If you see, depositories are going to gain a market share in the unlisted part as well incrementally. So I think over there it's a good play. It's a debt-free company. The operations are not much, heavy on the expense. Pricing is the issue, but I think that will be sorted out in sooner or later. But I think for next 3-5 years, it's a really good bet right now.
All right. One more question for you, Samir. We have Debarpan Sarkar, who wants a view on Syntex Plastics and Hutco, a fundamental view. Of course, Syntex Plastics will be a tough one. And
so I think both are tough ones. If you're going for a play on longer term, you have to see the existence of the company first of all.
Right.
Syntex Plastics has been, Syntex Group have their own issues, which I think will persist because the management really doesn't change. And on the Hutco side, the revenues really don't come up at a large in the fundamental side of it. And it'll never get the premium valuation at a certain point, even from institutional investors. So I think it's better you want to go with a mid cap or a large cap name, something like a Oberoi Realty, if you want to play the real estate sector.
Right. Okay, all right. Moving on to a technical view on Shriram Transport Finance. We have a question from Puneet Nanda. If you can pull up Shriram Transport Finance, let's see what that one is doing. It's at around 1115, up 1.5%. Aditya, how would you trade this one for the short term?
So this is just on the verge of a breaking out from a good resistance point of around 1110. So it's all trading above that resistance at the moment, above 1110. So there is a short-term up move which is playing out in the stock. I would look to go long in the stock for targets of 1140, and then if it manages to cross 1140, I'm looking at an upside target of 1200. One can put a stop around 1080 and look to take a long position in Shriram Transport Finance.
Okay, fair enough. All right, a question that we get a lot, Samir. You know, it's a fairly common one. So it's almost every every show that we get one. Please suggest 5 mid-cap stocks for the long-term investment. There's a little bit of fixation, but you know, you can give us 3 or 4.
So we can start with Oberoi Realty. JTKT. That's an auto ang company, lower levels. Then there's Petronet LNG. All right. IGL. And then you go with another, let's say, Gravita. That's a very small cap company. And it has a very low valuations as of now. So I think these 5 are good in the SIP terms if you want to really do that.
All right, well, there you have it. The 5 names here are, of course, Oberoi Realty, JTKT, Gravita. We also have Petronet LNG, and you said IGL. Those are the 5 companies that Samir is putting out in terms of the mid-cap companies that you can delve into in terms of, and of course, the investments in these could be in a staggered manner in an SIP way. But moving on to the next question, and that one is another technical one actually from Sunyan Chakraborty. Also on Dilip Bilkon, short-term technical view, his purchase of Dilip Bilkon is 534. It's currently at 419, clearly making a significant loss of almost 20%, well, or more than that actually. And well, in a bit of a pickle, it's down 3% today as well. Aditya, how would you help this investor or trader?
He can put a stop at 410 and look to continue with that long position. Stock did see a sharp surge from levels of 320 and it managed to hit levels of 480. Volumes were pretty decent when the stock managed from 320 to about 480. And from those levels, it's giving up some bit of its gain. Volumes are on the lower side when stock is correcting. So I'm not too perturbed by the correction that the stock has witnessed from 480 to 420. I would recommend put a stop at 410 and hold on to the stock. Chances are high that the stock can hit levels of 500 and 520 in the coming months. It's not going to happen immediately, but can take about 3 to 4 months. At current levels, I would recommend hold on to the stock, put a stop at 410 and monitor it closely.
All right, monitor it closely. A long is still in the offing, but keep a stop loss at around 410 odd levels. Currently at 420. Well, it is looking weak at this point in time. But moving on to the next question, it's again a short-term view. So I'm going to take the question on Dabur from Vishal Sangvi, who writes to us on WhatsApp. Can I buy Dabur at current levels with a 1-year point of view? Currently at 431. How are you reading variables here?
I would definitely take a long trade in Dabur, put a stop close to about 419 to about 420. That's a good support zone, and look for a northward target of 450 to about 470 on the upside. Stock looks decent. It is going through a consolidation post correction, so it is almost at the lower end of the consolidation. I would look to take a long position, putting a stop at 419 and for targets of 460, 470.
Okay. All right. That's your view on Dabur India. Samir, a question from Alan. He wants to know which is the best bet among future group stocks. His question was on Facebook. How do you like the group, and if at all, anything that stands out?
So I don't like anything over there. Over there, the main problem is they're into the business which is very thin margins.
Yes.
Throughout. They have higher debts, higher working capital debts as well.
Right.
So I think it's better to stay away from these kind of companies. If he really wants to have an exposure, I think Shoppers Stop is one retail end where we have an exposure.
All right.
And he can do the same if he likes.
Okay, well, stay away from the future group, Alan. That is the advice coming in from Samir. You may as well go in for something like a Shoppers Stop if you're interested in retail. And well, okay, this is an odd one out. Our question, a technical view on Awadh Sugar. Now, I'm not sure how volatile or liquid this particular counter is, but it's currently at 485. We have Rangarajan who wants a 3-month target and stop loss for Awadh Sugar. He has not mentioned at what price he's entered or if he's entered at all. But let's assume if we get into at this level, Aditya, what would your advice be?
So stock has bounced back. We witnessed a sharp run up in the prices from 400 to about 530. Today is one of those days when the stock has given up its gain. It's extremely volatile, so to say. If somebody wants to take a long trade, probably these are good levels to get into the stock. Put a tight stop at 465. If the stock breaks 465, I'm out of the trade. I'll be looking at a northward target of probably 580, and if it crosses 580, 620 to about 630 is also possible.
Okay.
But for the moment, I'll play for a target of 580, put a stop at 465. If the stop is hit, I'm out of the trade.
All right, there you have it. That's the view on Awadh Sugar. But I'm going to stay with the sugar space at this point. We also have a question from Naresh. Need a long-term view on Balrampur Chini. Samir, let's talk about the sugar sector and general. What is your reading here and your view on Balrampur Chini?
See, if you see the sugar stocks standalone, on the business, they are a high debt, high working capital, a low cash flow kind of a situation, cyclical in nature. So you don't get any business sense from them for a long-term investment.
Right.
Today's cycle is going up. It can last for another 1 year and then start coming down. You know, as an investor, you really don't want to go through those cycles.
Sure.
So I think, and right now mainly the ethanol story is being played out. So he can look at Praj Industries. I think that's the best play to play through all this, all the noise which is coming. Because ethanol, any capex which is done, at least 40% if it comes to Praj, they get a 2,000, 3,000 kind of a revenue from that in next 2 to 3 years. And I think that's a big boost for them. So I think Praj is the best place to play with.
And again, you have to play these sectors very sensibly, because it could turn out to be one of those graphite or HEG sort of a thing. There's a sudden up move, the news flows, stock continues to go up every day. Look at the movement in Balrampur Chini of late. You don't want to get stuck with these stocks again. Like people are stuck with graphite and other stocks. So you have to play it very carefully. You have to keep a track of all the news flow that is trickling in and hold on to your positions accordingly. That's very important.
Well, fair enough. And remain nimble. That is well, new coming in case you do intend to play with such stocks which do have a lot of risk associated with them. But moving on to the next question on YouTube, the question really is Vodafone Idea a good value buy? Is it a good value buy?
Not as of now. Maybe in a couple of quarters when the prices start to turn up. Because the market shares are mainly for the main leader to change.
All right.
And I think once that's sustainable, even the main leader will come back to price hikes. Right now, the whole mode is to gain the market share and be the number one. Once you're number one, then the story comes to increasing the revenue from there, increasing the pricing from there. So I think a couple of more quarters and it'll become a better placed bet than Bharti from my point of view.
Okay, all right. But you don't think that there is place for only 2 players in the market at this point in time?
See, even if there are 2 players, the only point is the third player is diversified too much into international operations, local operations.
Sure.
And when you don't have a MNC partner with a big pocket sitting with you, it's all about that. So to raise money will become much more harder on that kind of a debt base.
Right.
So your priority right now is to reduce the debt.
Right.
Then your priority is to take a higher debt. That kind of a mode, and today Vodafone is putting around 25,000 crores together.
Right.
And they'll raise around 20,000 through the sale of towers.
Sure.
That should happen in the next 6-9 months. And I think 45,000, if you remove from that the system, they've got a bigger boost than Airtel does today.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, a valid answer. Not just yet, as far as Vodafone Idea is concerned, as a value buy. Moving on to Shefali Singhal's question on ICICI Bank need a 3 to 6 month view. I'm going to take a technical check out here. Shall we pull up ICICI Bank currently at 350, largely where it was, and currently down around 1.6%. It's been a quiet day of trade, but Aditya, how would you trade this one?
I would look to take a long position in ICICI Bank. I believe the up move is still there. It's not yet played out completely. I would play for an immediate target of 370 on the upside, and if it manages to close above 370, I would be looking at a target of 380 in the coming weeks or probably a month or two. 345 to about 340 is a good support zone for the stock. So at current levels, you just have risk to reward of 10 rupees on the downside, and probably you can look an upward target of 20-30 rupees. So it makes sense to take a long position in ICICI Bank.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, it's time to get in our rapid fire segment, and I would like to request our experts to keep their answers as short as possible. But knowing the experts that I have with me right now, I'm not too worried about that. So, okay, a question from Ajay Rai. What to do with Reliance Nippon? I'm assuming that Ajay Rai is already in Reliance Nippon. What would you ask him to do?
Hold for a long term.
Okay, hold for a long term. That's what you should do, Ajay. Can I buy Piramal Enterprises at current levels with the long-term view? That's a question from Jaideep Kulkarni on Facebook. Piramal Enterprises, Samir?
Yeah, but you do a SIP in that because it has a risk towards real estate developers. So I think there might be lower sides still there, and I think next couple of quarters will be a little difficult for them.
Okay.
So you can do it in the SIP.
All right, do an SIP in that particular stock. But the next question is on Akanksha. Can I buy Kansai Nerolac at current levels with a 1-year view? I'll take this up with Aditya, currently at 446, down 1.9%. Aditya, 1-year view?
I don't think so. She should look at Asian Paints rather than Kansai Nerolac. Probably the volumes are a little on the thin side as far as Kansai Nerolac is concerned.
Okay.
So it tends to move a lot in between. So I would prefer Asian Paints as compared to Kansai Nerolac. Okay,
Aditya, one more for you. Sarah Sanitaryware, again from the same viewer, and again she wants to know what can be done with a 1-year perspective. Sarah Sanitaryware, not so well liquid, but at 2,318 right now.
Yes, she can take a look at taking a long position in Sarah Sanitaryware. Place a stop at 2150. Stock can bounce back to levels of 2600 in the coming 1 year, or probably across that as well. So a long trade can be taken in Sarah, yes.
All right, fair enough. Sanjeev Singh wants to know if he can average Ashok Leyland, which he holds at 150 rupees per share, or just hold on.
Hold on, don't average it right now. Okay. Next 3 months or 4 months will create that bottoming, and even if you miss the first 10%, I think you're fine with that.
All right, fair enough. That's your view on Ashok Leyland. And on that note, we have reached towards the end of the show. So I'm going to thank both our experts, Samir and Aditya, for helping our viewers with all their queries. That is all that we have on this edition of Ask PQ. But remember, we're just a tweet, a post, or a call away. So keep your queries coming in, and we promise to address them all through our shows. For all the previous episodes, visit our YouTube channel or website, bloombergprint.com. But stay tuned. Up next is Power Lunch.